My name is Alex Hayes, and I was born into discipline. Both my parents served in the military. My father, a decorated Marine. My mother, a respected Army logistics officer. Our home was less a sanctuary and more a barracks. Wake up at 0600. Make your bed with hospital corners. Speak only when spoken to. There was a place for everything and everything in its place, including emotions. Growing up, I learned to salute before I learned to smile. My friends envied my neatness, my posture, my discipline. But they didn't see the pressure, the weight of expectations pressing down on me like a 100-pound rucksack. At family dinners, talk of missions replaced conversations about dreams. And in our house, dreams outside the military were seen as distractions, even dishonor. I was expected to serve, no questions asked. Being a Hayes meant you didn't flinch. You followed orders, no matter the cost. I tried to fit in, enrolled in junior ROTC, ran drills before sunrise, memorized code and rank structure. But even with medals pinned to my uniform, I felt hollow. The only time I felt truly alive was when I was alone, plucking chords on my guitar in the quiet of my room. Music, chaotic, messy, free, was my rebellion, my salvation. Each note I played felt like a breath of air in a world that was suffocating me. And yet, it had to remain hidden. A secret life beneath a pressed uniform. I remember the night I first played a song I'd written myself. My hands shook, not from fear of hitting the wrong note, but from fear someone might hear. Someone like Dad. He once caught me skipping PT to rehearse for the school talent show. He didn't yell. He just looked at me with such disappointment. It burned deeper than any insult. "You're not one of those flaky artists, are you?" he asked. I wanted to say yes, but I couldn't. I just stood there, silent. While he turned and walked away, I started hiding more. My guitar under the bed, lyrics stuffed in drawers, feelings buried deep. At 17, I was offered a scholarship to a military prep school. Dad was thrilled. Mom started shopping for uniforms. I smiled, nodded, and inside, I panicked. That night, I snuck out and played a set at an open mic cafe downtown. For the first time, strangers clapped for me, not for following orders, but for expressing myself. The stage lights warmed me in a way home never had. I felt seen. A local producer approached me after the show, said I had something special, offered to help me record a demo. I wanted to scream yes, but all I said was, "I'll think about it." Because what would my parents say? I already knew it would be the ultimate betrayal. Turning down a military career for music, it would be like spitting on the flag in our living room. Still, the idea planted itself in my heart. It grew roots. Even if I tried, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Senior year, things came to a head. I skipped a training weekend for a regional music competition. I won second place and came home to find my guitar smashed, its splinters in the trash. Dad stood at the door, silent. Mom cried in the kitchen. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just packed my duffel and left. I spent the night at my friend Marcus's place, clutching my broken strings like a lifeline. It wasn't just a guitar. It was a part of me, a part my father destroyed. I applied to colleges without telling them. Berkeley, NYU, anywhere far. I wrote essays about finding my voice in a home that demanded silence. When NYU's Clive Davis Institute accepted me, I cried in a public restroom. Not just because I got in, but because for once, I chose something for myself. I sent my parents a letter instead of calling. It felt safer. They never replied. The silence said everything, but I wasn't turning back. I was chasing a future they'd never understand. New York was noise and chaos and color. It overwhelmed me, and yet it felt like breathing for the first time. My classmates were wild and weird and wonderful. We jammed in subways, produced tracks in dorm rooms, cried over heartbreak and chord progressions. For the first time, I wasn't just a soldier's son. I was Alex, just Alex. I learned to fail without fear, to speak without asking permission. And slowly, I began to heal. My music reflected that. The raw, messy kind of healing you don't get in boot camp. I worked part-time at a record store, lived on ramen and ambition, and spent late nights layering harmonies over beats until the sun came up. My first EP dropped on SoundCloud and hit 10,000 streams in a week. Labels started to notice. I started to believe. But somewhere inside, that little voice still whispered, would Dad be proud? Maybe not. But I was finally proud of myself, and that was something. I wasn't marching in anyone else's line anymore. I was creating my own rhythm, one beat at a time. Graduation came and went. I stood on stage in my cap and gown, guitar pick in my pocket instead of dog tags. My friends cheered. My professors clapped. My parents, still absent. I learned to stop expecting them. It was like mourning someone still alive, grieving the idea of what they could have been. I released my second EP, and this time, it charted. An indie label offered me a contract. I signed, not because it was safe, but because it was mine. Mine to win or lose. Years later, after a sold-out show in LA, I got a message from my mother. Just 2 words, we're proud. It wasn't much, but it was enough to bring tears to my eyes. Maybe they'd listened, maybe they'd watched, or maybe they finally understood that I wasn't rejecting them. I was choosing me. I still think about Dad. He never reached out, but I no longer live for his approval. I live for the crowd that sings my lyrics back to me. For the boy who once hid his songs. For Alex Hayes, the soldier who never enlisted, but still learned to fight.